From beautiful downtown Indio, this is INDIO, your local source for information and entertainment. And now, your hosts, Rick Wise and Shirley Schumann. This is INDIO.
How are you?
Good. You know, it's been a while since we had a show.
I know. But it has been.
No March show, so don't keep looking for it. But this is our April show, and it's a very special show.
It is a very special show, and it has to do about our elections that are coming up.
You know, this is probably the most important board election that Four Seasons has ever had, because whoever is elected this term will probably be on the board when KHOV releases it to us.
That's true. That's true. They have less than 30 homes to sell, so it is very, very important. And it's also to note that no cumulative voting.
Right.
Right. Each candidate only is allowed one vote.
Now, each household will get two votes.
Right.
But you can only vote for a candidate one time.
One time. That's correct. It's not like it has been in the past.
And those 6 candidates are Daphne Cortese, Tony Denogean,
Paul Glatfelter, and Ken Hansely.
And Paul Maslakowski.
And Nanci
Mickelsen.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, Daphne Cortese is not available to be on the show today. And Nanci sent us an email that she, for various reasons, she does not want to appear on the show.
Okay.
But we are lucky to have all the other 4 on the show today. So
that's correct. So you'll get to meet them if you cannot make the meet the candidates night.
Right. So let's start with an opening statement from each of the candidates. Tony Denogean.
Thank you, Rick and Shirley, for inviting us to this forum in order to present our ideas to the homeowners during this election period. I am Tony Denogean. My wife Deborah and I have lived in Stodano since 2016. I was the chairperson for the Safety Committee for the last 6 years, intermittently off and on. I have experience in both clinical and administrative arenas. I know how to vet customers, vet vendors, and I believe that my strongest attributes are the ability to move things forward in a constructive and efficient manner. I would appreciate your support during this upcoming election. Thank you.
Paul Glatfelter.
Hi, my name is Paul Glatfelter, and I want to thank you both for giving us the opportunity to get this message out to the people so they have a better choice or have a better opportunity to make a better choice on choosing their next directors. My experience here in the community, since I've been here since 2016, I've been a member of the Landscape Committee. Did that for probably a little over 2 years. I was on the Design Review Committee. I did that for probably almost 3 years, and I spent 1 year as a director on your board. My career experience has been in finance and staffing, scheduling. I managed and motivated people, evaluated them, and rewarded and disciplined people. So I understand people very well and understand what it takes to motivate people. I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to make a change in our community. If that's something that you're looking for, then you need to look at us 4 candidates and make your best choice, next choice for candidates.
And Ken Hansely.
I'm Ken Hansely. I'm a 6-year resident of Four Seasons, Terralago, and I would be honored if elected to the board of directors. I've lived in HOA communities for years, and I've served on 2 community boards for a total of 6 years. Budget management, reserve fund planning, executing ideas to solve our issues, collaborating with homeowners and vendors are all things that I've done. I've got a 34-year career in media, specializing in research. I've maintained multi-million-dollar budgets. I've negotiated long-term multi-million-dollar contracts, and I've executed the ideas and the plans of our company to maximize profits using evidence-based research. A research career requires an extraordinary attention to detail, a high level of organization, and communication through long-term and short-term plans. A high level of communication so that everyone is on the same page, so that we're executing the plans of the company to maximize those profits. You know, Four Seasons Terralago is an active adult lifestyle community, and I've taken advantage of that. I use the pools, I go to the gym, I've played bocce, I play pickleball from time to time, and I've used the tennis courts. I'm a member of the Performing Arts Club, PAC. I go to karaoke every month. I play bridge on Wednesdays, and I'm most proud of the work that I did on the newsletter, The Roadrunner, where I produced all of the videos that we put out, and I got to interview a lot of interesting and talented residents, and it really strengthened my respect for our neighbors. I feel that I take a business-first approach, and that means going to all of the board meetings as much as possible. I also speak in the open sessions there. I go to all the town halls and every event where opinions are solicited, and I want my voice to be heard, and I also want to hear from my neighbors and what their perspectives are. I feel that I have a well-rounded background, and I feel that I can move this community into the future, and I hope you consider voting for me.
And Paul Maslakowski.
Rick and Shirley, thank you for inviting all of us, all the candidates that are up for the election, to give us all the opportunity to express what our interest in, answer your questions so the members can be better informed. My name is Paul Maslakowski. My wife Joyce and I have lived in the community since July of 2020. We love Four Seasons Terralago. It was our pick when we were coming from Alaska. We toured a whole bunch of places and chose this community because of what it has to offer. I am a 35-year retired attorney. I spent years as trial work. Doing that, you become very focused on detail, very focused on preparation. I spent most of my career as a supervisor, including my last year as the deputy director for a statewide agency with multi-million-dollar budgets. All my career, I've had to work with not only overseeing budgets, but also putting them together and learning how to do the fiscal planning that this community so badly needs. It is my intention to use my time on the board to try to bring us forward. We've made a good start, but we have room for improvement. I'd like to see the landscape come up. We've seen that deteriorate over the years. I'd like to see us pay more attention to the capital improvements we have to keep this community to be the jewel that it was when we all first got here. That's going to take time and strategic planning. The Finance Committee needs to be put back in place and given both the power and to do long-term, short-term, and medium-term planning of both the financials and the reserves, because without the money, we can't do anything else in this community. I was on a board for 6 years, including a term as president. It was at a time when the community was transitioning from a builder community to a homeowner community. So I've seen and experienced the issues that we will be facing as KHOV leaves us. I believe that all my experience makes me qualified to be a board member here at Four Seasons Terralago. I believe in not only believe in transparency, I have ideas about how we can make it easier for our residents to learn what's going on in their community and also to take part in the community. And we intend, and I intend, to encourage people to serve on committees, to know that they will be given reasonable efforts to make a meaningful contribution to the community. I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you guys for the opening statements. Now let's start with our questions. These questions were submitted to us. These are, people thought these were the important questions to ask. Mm-hmm. So first of all, the first question to the candidates is, What do you think is the top issue facing Four Seasons at Terra-Lago today? And what are your, how would you address these?
I believe we have several. Short term, we have a county program that's going to be dredging the berm and moving a lot of dirt. We want to make sure that that is done safely, and the only way we can do that is to collaborate with the county. Long-term infrastructure. Our infrastructure is getting old, and we need to make sure that we have someone come in and inspect the premises to make sure that we get proactive results and get our fixes done before something happens.
I believe our biggest challenge here in our community is trust. I feel that many people have a lack of trust for our management company, management trusts. They do most of the explaining, which is now something that we view as excuses. I believe the people don't trust the board. I believe that the board does not explain issues to us. They expect the management company to do the explaining to us, which creates the problem. They also have a tendency of discussing matters in executive session that should probably be an open session. It's been something that I think we've all had question on why we don't seem to understand what the board is doing, what they're talking about. And I also feel the board doesn't trust the people. If you remember back when we approved the lockbox, look how much time that took to actually approve the lockbox, because the board did not trust the people. They did not trust the fact that they were going to act like adults and use the lockbox for what it was intended for their checks. They felt that they were probably going to be stolen from the box. And then many of you remember our fobs issue, where many of us wanted to have easy access to the lodge, to use our fobs and come and go as we pleased. The board would not even consider this unless we added cameras to this, which now ran up the cost and also showed their real lack of trust for the people, that they must be watched while they're at the pool and coming and going from the parking lot. I think the way to deal with this is actually to elect 2 new members, 2 of the 4 that are sitting right here. That can, I think we all show a good example of being able to speak in a manner where people can follow, and conduct the meetings in a manner that is efficient. I think if we actually make that decision and not just accept things the way they are, and make a decision to elect 2 members, I think we can see us moving forward from here.
I think the top issue facing us is that we need to prioritize the business side of the HOA. We need to develop short and long-term strategic financial plans. We need to put a finance committee into place to help guide the board of directors through these short-term and long-term expenditures. Additionally, we need to monitor our budget management. We don't need surprises, and a finance committee can help with that. Lastly, I would say that we need to, as Paul said, we need to make this community the jewel that it was when we first came here. We need to maintain and enhance our common areas. Those are our assets. And by maintaining and enhancing those, it increases our property values, and it also helps to increase the quality of life that we have here. Those are the things that I think are the biggest issues facing Four Seasons Terra-Lago today.
I think the biggest issue is the financial planning for both our regular day-to-day budget, but also our reserves. Right now, the last reserve study said in order to not be behind in our reserves, we have to increase them 7% a year for the next 6 years, I believe, was what the report said. By paying attention to those things, bringing back the finance committee, getting involved in the planning for both the resources and the actual day-to-day budget, you can use money, as Tony said, we're a 10-year-old community now. Infrastructure is starting to go. We can take money that is in reserve, use money to fix items proactively that are now just being taken out of the budget whenever they think they need it. We need to be able to coordinate those plans, because without the money, the rest of the community just cannot hold up or maximize its benefit, both on the social side and the business side. So without paying attention to the business side, you will have no social side.
Okay, and what is your opinion of the number of employees at the lodge?
Currently, I believe we have 6 employees at the lodge. I believe the number of employees should address the ability to minimize our liability. There has been talk about opening the lodge for longer hours without representation or without a staff member there. I recall an incident when we had someone that passed out in our parking lot, and everybody was scrambling around to find the address to our area so we could basically communicate to the fire department. That shouldn't happen. Liability is something that in our litigious society tends to be a big concern. This property cannot afford multi-million-dollar lawsuits because we didn't take a proactive stance on something that basically is so simple as speed monitoring, as simple as a presence so that we could offer help in case somebody needs it. I think that currently the staff that we have can be moved, can be utilized in different areas without the need of hiring more individuals.
I believe we have an opportunity here. I don't believe it's in landscaping because our community is growing, our common areas are growing, and the cost of our landscaping on a monthly basis is just going up. It's just because we're growing still. I think the opportunity is in staffing. I think we have opportunity because, one, we have eliminated the no sign-in at the front lodge anymore, so it's not required to be staffed there. Welcome packets. There's no need for welcome packets very soon. We're about 19 homes from being done. When those are done, then that task is not going to be necessary anymore. And the DRC workload is down, and it should be pretty much diminished other than anybody redoing anything that needs to be done to their yard. So the amount of time spent on DRC is going to go down, and therefore we could probably do with one less person in our lodge. The subject of cross-training has come up, and this is the perfect opportunity to train our people. If they're not willing to be cross-trained, then they can look for a better opportunity somewhere else. But I think our people need to know all the questions that they have. They're not very difficult. We're all kind of pretty much similar, so our questions are quite common. But quite often you can't get an answer that suits the question that you've asked. If everyone was cross-trained, then everyone would know, and we wouldn't have to wait for somebody else to come in and turn up the thermometer, the thermostat in the gym. Therefore, I think that's a perfect opportunity, is one less person in our lodge, and we get a chance to save some money there.
Well, I have an open mind on this. I have no predisposition notions on what is the proper number of employees at the lodge. I do think that we can do an analysis to find out. We can develop some standard operating procedures. We can do some cross-training, as Paul said. We can enhance our efficiencies there, eliminate the redundancies. Let's document what their job descriptions are. And then also, let's also do some proper documentation of institutional knowledge that can help us from year to year. I think once we do an analysis like that, then the proper number of employees will become clearer. I would like to take this opportunity to say that there's a rumor out there that I want to eliminate all the staff at the lodge, and that's simply not true. That would be suicide for us. Business makes no sense to staff the lodge with homeowner volunteers. It just makes no sense. I would never want to do something like that. But I think an analysis will tell us what the proper number of employees is.
I agree with Ken. I think you can't just say there's too many or there's not too many, especially for those of us who haven't been on the board. We need to know what they actually do, what their job descriptions are, and what they actually do, because we often wonder, are they doing what they are supposed to? And we sometimes see evidence that suggests they may not be. Which comes down to a matter of training. So we need to pay attention to all those things. We need to pay attention to employee performance as well as planning. I think we have opportunities. If there are too many, that'll become obvious. But we also have the opportunity to further enhance the services that are being provided. I believe we're up to 7 employees and maybe even a part-timer on top of that. So there is a big expense, and we need to make sure that our money is being spent wisely, providing the services that this community needs in a way that benefits the entire community. And without having all the facts, I can't say, oh yeah, I would cut people or we need more. I certainly don't think we need more. I think we can do just fine with what we have, but I think we can do even better with what we have.
And our next question.
What do you see as the main responsibility of a board member?
The board should not live in a vacuum. It should not function in a vacuum. It should be able to utilize committees to take recommendations that are well presented, well documented, and are cost efficient. I think sometimes the board acts without getting more consensus from homeowners, and some of the expenditures that have been done in the past may seem a little outrageous, but saying that, I believe that cost effectiveness is important.
The board of directors has the duty to follow and enforce the governing documents, the CC&Rs, the rules and regulations, the bylaws, and the articles of incorporation. The priority duties include protect, respect, and maintain the common areas and property values in the association. My personal responsibilities, I feel, are to instill trust and respect back into this community. As we can see, it's slipping away. And the way to do that, I believe, is to elect 2 new board members to your board.
Well, for me, it falls under an umbrella of fiduciary responsibility. I would say that, first of all, we need to ensure the financial health of the community, the association. We need to keep an eye on our expenses, on our budget, and also we need to be mindful of our reserve funds. Additionally, on top of that, we need to adhere to the governing documents at all times, as Paul said. That is a way to limit our legal exposure. I would also say, as they've said, that we need to enhance and maintain our physical properties. Those are part of our assets. And once they're enhanced, then that increases our property values, and it also increases the quality of life here. So I would say I put that all under a fiduciary responsibility.
I agree with what Ken just said. The biggest thing a director has, the biggest duty he owes to the community is a fiduciary responsibility. But I think it goes beyond just the finances. I think that's the primary driving thing. We are trustees of the assets of the association, and it's our job to keep them maintained and to fund them and to do all the things proper within our governing documents, which should go hand in hand and should go without saying, but somehow I feel we need to say that. The other thing is the lifestyle that this community has. We have a fiduciary duty to the people who moved here because it's an active lifestyle community to maintain for example, the pickleball, the tennis courts, the basketball courts, the lodge rooms, the pools, in a way that they're working and that people can use and enjoy them, and to enhance the enjoyment of everybody in the community. And by keeping to those fiduciary duties, I think a board member goes a long way to ensuring living in a wonderful community.
Do you favor restoring the Finance Committee? Yes or no? And you have 30 seconds to respond if you want to respond to the yes or no question.
I do. I believe that finance is important, and a committee that basically is well versed in financial fiduciary responsibility regulations is important to our community.
Needing a finance committee is yes. The finance committee has a responsibility to keep us abreast of where we stand with our finances on a regular basis. As a board member, I had suggested that the finance company do regular presentations on a monthly basis. They could do just a portion of it each month, showing us how our reserves work, how our expenditures work, where we stand, where our CDs are. We just got a report last month that they reported, or they moved monies into the reserves in our budget. That needs to be explained a little bit better, and the presentations could support that. We also have our main vendor, our management trust. There's been talk of replacing our management trust. Well, I think we should at least have them, and by competing, that will possibly save us some money once we do make the choice on our vendor. If management trust had to compete, maybe they'd be willing to give up their raise that they're getting every year. They're getting a 5 to 7% raise every year, and it's never challenged. If they had to compete, maybe they'd be willing to give up that raise to keep their position here with our community.
Well, I mean, for me, the short answer is yes, of course. And to go a little bit further into it, I feel like a finance committee is going to help the board of directors with our imminent and long-term decisions, financial decisions. We do get some financial help from the management company, but I do feel that all decisions that are put in the hands of the homeowners are going to be inherently better decisions because the homeowners have a larger stake in what happens in this HOA than the management company does. But it's important, and it's a sad thing to say, I think, that that's a way I distinguish myself from the current board, that I think that we should have a finance committee in place immediately.
Hell yes.
In Indio.
Each committee has specified a number of members. Are you in favor of not capping of how many members a committee can consist of?
As a former chair of the safety committee, I find that if you have too many members, it's unwieldy conversations when you start dealing in specifics. But one thing that I always welcomed is guests to come in and present their concerns. That's the only way you really get a feeling of what the people are feeling out there. And so maybe leave the membership at 6, with a chair not being able to vote. That way it gives that even odd decision when we're starting to make our analysis. But have the ability to have guests come in and make presentations. And I believe it's a win-win for both.
I think it depends on the committee. I think that some committees, if there are too many people on the committee, it can become cumbersome to try to accomplish something. But then look at the design review committee, where there's just not enough members on there right now, where many of them are forced to go out and do the inspections. And I mean, that's something that has to be done on a regular basis. As I mentioned earlier, we got 19 homes left. That's going to minimize some. But up to this point, there's really never been enough members on the committee. So I think in that committee, they need to be open to welcome as many as they can get. But I also feel that there are other committees that maybe don't need quite as many members, and it's something that can be decided within the committee.
Yeah, I see both sides of the coin here. I think that if you have a limitless number of people, the meetings can be unwieldy, as Tony said. And also the finance committee has like some limiting factors. We just don't want everybody on the finance committee. There has to be some pre-qualifications for that. I can see other issues like that would be positive, like for the landscape committee, you can break the common areas up into different areas and have 2 or 3 people in charge of monitoring different areas, but the meetings could be difficult. So the meetings could be hard, but otherwise their planning could be easier. It's just that with the finance committee, I do believe that we should limit that. But we can have a finance subcommittee where others can be on a subcommittee that are tasked with different things.
That's basically my opinion. I think I agree with Tony that it does become you get gridlock if you have too many people involved. I would be in support of having voting committee members up to 9, but we could have subcommittees on others. I don't think we should turn away any volunteer. Anybody who wants to contribute to this community should be allowed to contribute what it is they're willing to do, provided that the committee that they want to serve on, they have the knowledge to be a benefit from. Like Ken said, we shouldn't have everybody in the community on the finance committee, but I think we have room for having the committee members come up with subcommittees that can help them, so that can make their meetings and their contributions more worthwhile to the community and to the board when the board has to make decisions.
Are you in favor of a legal advisory board made up of residents that are qualified to be on a legal advisory board?
Oh, being in the legal arena for a while, as I was the field manager for the Department of Veterans Affairs Resolution Management, we dealt with discrimination complaints. And depending on what kind of vetting you get for that committee, it's very important. I've supervised attorneys before, fired a couple, and you have to be sure that the committee has a set charter, that they know what their requirements and their marching orders are in order to make it a viable committee. Right now, I believe Management Trust supports our legal issues. It's costly. So I believe if we would have something like that, mediation, resolution would be something that would be a priority.
I am in favor of a legal advisory board just simply for the factor of discussion. This recent thing that we went through over the elections, I think had we talked about it, had the board talked about it with those that are educated in the field, those that had the information to begin with on where we should have been, because it felt like the board was trying to go in their own direction. Had they all been in the same room and discussed this, I think that we probably could have come to a conclusion that could have kept us out of the courts and saved us money. We have to be open. We've got a lot of educated people that live here. We've all been retired and successful at something. So to utilize these people that have the knowledge in the legal field, I think is something that we can't ignore, and we need to utilize them when we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. And I kind of agree with both Pauls with things that they've said. And I don't like the idea of turning people away either, you know, and it would be a good idea to have someone to go to other than the first call being the lawyer. It would be better if we could say, well, let's call, you know, the head of the legal advisory committee who lives over on Treviso, rather than let's get Epstein on the line and figure this out. Yes, I think it's a great idea.
I agree. It is not a replacement for association counsel, because we need association counsel. We need to have a professional whose opinion can be trusted. However, we need to know when we can trust that opinion, and I think recent events have shown that the board may not be getting the right advice, and a committee such as a legal advisory committee could help point out when there are problems with what we may be hearing from Epstein, or lead us to seek a second legal opinion. It's a great idea, but it doesn't replace retained counsel, because we need that.
Are you in favor of a digital newsletter created by the residents?
Oh, definitely. Digital newsletter, any type of mechanism that spreads the word, gets information out is essential. And if you have someone that is well versed in publishing a digital newsletter, you can't get that kind of coverage by hard copy or by word of mouth. The digital newsletter is something that is definitely appropriate for this community.
Absolutely, I'm in favor of a digital newsletter. As a board member, I made the original proposal to start the newsletter. I went around the community and asked people to participate in it. I've worked, my company that I worked for many years, we had newsletters that gave the people the information that they needed to have, that many of the things only the managers were getting it and the people weren't getting. And through a newsletter, the word gets out, it opens discussions, it opens up opportunities that some may not see unless you have people talking about it. The newsletter shares information between those that are deeply involved and those that are just wondering what's going on. I also feel that we could have, we did have at one time a suggestion box in our lobby where the suggestions were submitted, and what really happened with them we didn't really hear about much, because I don't think enough was done with it. Those suggestions could actually go in the newsletter, and the board has the opportunity to share their thoughts on it. I feel that it has a great opportunity for improving our communication, which is something that we lack very much. I think communication has gotten worse through the years, to be honest with you. So yes, I think if we reinstill the newsletter, again with people that are educated in that sort of thing, can be very advantageous to us.
Well, I mean, I was on the newsletter when we started it. It was a digital newsletter. I produced all of the videos that came out from that. That newsletter became fractured when the HOA board kind of distanced themselves from us and wouldn't allow us to have any information about the business side of the HOA. What they wanted covered was the activities and the amenities. And then we left when they wouldn't allow us to interview the candidates last year in the board. And so we left. The importance of the newsletter is to get the message out from the board. It is a vehicle of the board for communication and for transparency. We should have a message from the president, a message from the treasurer, even messages from the committee heads as part of our newsletter. Let's understand what the business side of this association is. Until we get a newsletter started, we should tack onto the Friday weekly e-blast a message from the president, maybe the next week a message from the treasurer, next week a committee head, and so on. But that communication doesn't have to wait until the newsletter starts. It can start immediately by adding to the Friday e-blast. And it is important to cover the business side so that we increase transparency, accountability, and communication to the homeowners.
I see things a little different. I am in support of a digital newsletter by the citizens, free from board interference. The board has plenty of ways to get their message out. We have the Friday e-blast. We have, as Ken said, we can have messages from the president, messages from the different officers or committees through that. What we need is for the people to have a voice, an uncensored voice, to be free to criticize the board when they feel it's appropriate and not face board retaliation because they're doing something that the board doesn't like. That's healthy for the community to know what dissent is. Dissent's a major part of the American psyche, and it needs a voice to go out, or you see the frustrations that build in this community when voices are quashed. So I think it's absolutely essential that we have one free from board interference.
And do you favor periodic reviews and bids for vendors, including Brightview and Management Trust?
Don't definitely. That's part of business. Business, you should always vet your contractors. You should always review the contracts. And you should always go out and see if you can get the same service for a better cost. Saying that, our valley is growing. Vendors have the upper hand. They are in demand. And so one thing that I do suggest and strongly advocate for is a partnership between the vendor and our community. An example, a prime example, is our gate service through Southwest Security. We have, since we put them on, the safety committee vetted them and got them on our rolls, have a member from the security gate service that attended our safety committee every month. They gave us input on what was going on at the gate. They gave us input on what was being monitored in the area, garage doors being open, things like that. And they did it on their own time because they were invested in our community. And I believe that's the only way that you can become a better community, is if your vendors are committed to it too.
Absolutely, I believe that we need to have bids on our vendors. Brightview, when Brightview does a bid, they are in competition with other vendors. But our management team, that's the area that there is no competition, because our management team does the vetting of all the bids, and that bid there just gets looked over. It hasn't happened yet, and I think it's very important that we do that. Again, I mentioned earlier that I think by having them compete with other vendors gives us an opportunity to reduce our costs, to get a better deal. If we decided to keep Management Trust, we could probably get a better deal than we're currently getting, and it gives us the opportunity to look at our vendor compared to other vendors that may be available that we have never even looked at. So I think it's important that we actually get on this.
I mean, I think so also, because it's part of our fiduciary responsibility, and we have to manage the budget. You know, our largest single line item on our budget is the staffing expense, the administrative staffing expense. We have to start looking into bids, particularly for the management company. It's been 10 years, and at some point you have to say, we've hit the magic number. Is that 11 years? Is it 12 years? Is it 15 years? When do we get bids for a management company? 10 years is long enough, I feel. It just makes sense to find out what is available out there and what we can even, maybe there's things that we can get from Management Trust that because of our existing contract, we're not getting that. But we need to know that. Also for the landscape company, for other contractual obligations, we should be getting bids, not necessarily annually, but on a periodic basis, less than 10 years. That's the way I feel.
I agree that we need to be bidding these out. And I think we need to bid out all contracts. Personally, I think a 4-year cycle works for the big four, which is our pool, our landscape, our management, and our security, the gate service. We can do one on every year, but you could break up the main ones so they're every 2 years. It's easier for the board to handle that way. It gives the people who are bidding it some security that they'll have the job. Since our contracts are only for a year, we can renegotiate both sides to meet changing conditions. But I think it is our fiduciary duty to do that.
Well, thank you, candidates, for your answers. Hopefully this helps the residents choose our next board of directors. And now we'll have closing statements from each of the candidates.
Okay, final statement. I thank Rick and Shirley and Q for taking the opportunity or giving us the opportunity to make our presentations to our homeowners. I believe that I am a good, viable candidate to move our properties and our community forward. I believe my expertise in both clinical and administrative arenas will be able to be beneficial not only to our homeowners but also to our community. I believe partnering with our local, county, state, and federal agencies are essential as we grow. I thank you and I welcome your support.
In closing, I want to share the fact that this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to make a change. If you want no change, then you vote for the incumbents or don't even vote. Nothing changes. But if you want change, you've heard 4 people talk today on their ideas and what they think they can do for this community. And I think you need to make a decision on who you want to be your next directors, because it's very likely that one of them will be your next president. So I think this is your opportunity to make that decision and vote.
Well, I'm taking a business-first approach to governing here. I feel like the activity side of the HOA is well taken care of. It's time that we concentrate on the business side of things here. And what I mean by that is, first, like we said, let's get a finance committee in place. Let's develop some strategic short and long-term financial plans. Additionally, on top of that, the property manager issues a weekly general review of the common areas and the facilities. That weekly general review can be the roadmap to where we need to concentrate our reserve funds and our expenditures. It needs to be distributed to the board, to the finance committee, to the landscape committee, and to the safety committee so that everyone is on the same page when we're dealing with our imminent expenditures and our long-term expenditures. The components are there to do this. We just need to get the finance committee in place first. And then what we've got is a structure to determine when each of the different components of our reserve funds are going to be spent. We have fewer interruptions, we have fewer closures, we don't have any surprises in our budget management, and we can adequately plan out how much our assessments are going to be if we can plan out our expenses with this property manager's report and a finance committee in place.
I think that my answers here today and what you've seen from me posted online on Nextdoor or Facebook gives you an idea of what I believe in, which is, 1, we have rules and they need to be followed, and that I understand the rules and I have that knowledge and experience in that area. I also have a wealth of experience in handling and coming up with budgets. That is something that is crucial to our community. I've worked as a supervisor, so I've led people. I've worked in the criminal defense arena, which really puts you at working with a group with very disparate viewpoints and reaching together to reach common solutions that both sides can live with. All those are part of the character that I have and bring to this office. My attention to detail, as you can see, I often get chided because my responses are long. But I believe the community needs the information in order to make up its mind. And that's what my goal is, to keep this community informed and to make the best decisions based on the best information ever. You will never hear me say, I won't do something because it's too hard or it takes too much time. I view that as I'm running, this is my second career. I worked, I retired, I'm ready to do a little more. I view that my time on the board will be my full-time job. I hope that you have read and do educate yourself with all the candidates, and after that you come to the conclusion that I would be a good addition to the board.
Well, it was certainly nice having them here, wasn't it?
It was very nice having them there. So hopefully that helped you as a resident when you get your ballots. The ballots will be sent out, I believe, April 15th. Now that means if they're mailed, that means you probably won't get them April 15th. Don't panic. But if you don't get them maybe by April 20th, I would call Chanel and see what maybe she can help figure out where the ballot is.
Yes, yes. And also, please, 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 please vote. We need your vote. You have to have a say of what's going on in this community, okay? And May 15th is the deadline, meaning they will have the meeting and counting the votes on May 15th.
Right.
If you can't get there, well, you can walk in May 15th before 11 a.m. And that's it.
If our questions weren't questions that you had, on April 16th, there will be Meet the Candidate forum at the lodge. I believe it's at 6 p.m. And you can mail questions ahead of time to FSTLQuestions@gmail.com. And they want those in by April 9th so that they can formulate them, get them all together for the candidates. Hopefully all 6 candidates will be at the Meet the Candidates forum, so you can meet all 6 of them.
Please do that. You have to be informed and able to vote. So I know a lot of you do work, but if you have any questions, you could certainly reach out to Rick and I, and we'd be more than happy to answer anything. But please, your vote is important.
Please vote.
Vote.
So I'm Rick Wise.
And I'm Shirley Schuman.
Until next time,
Please vote.
Vote.
Take
in
care.
Indio.
In Indio. Take care.
Vote.
Bye-bye.
This has been a Wise Words production. Hugh Jung, producer, and I'm Gary Bushkin, your announcer.